Okay, just for the record, I've started the YouTube live streaming and the recording.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is 7 p.m. We'll call to order this meeting of the Town Council of Little Compton. I'll call for a roll call vote of councilors present. Councilor Anderson,
Present.
Councilor Golembeski,
Here.
Councilor Mataronis,
Present.
Councilor Moore,
Here.
and Mushin here. So all 5 councilors are here. We have a quorum. We'll conduct the meeting. First item of business is approval of the minutes of September 10th.
Motion to approve the minutes of the September 10th Town Council meeting, unless anybody has any questions or comments to it.
I'll second it.
The motion is made by Mataronis, second by Golembeski to approve the minutes as written. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for a roll call vote. Councilor Anderson,
Aye.
Golembeski,
Aye.
Mataronis,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
Mushin, aye. Thank you. Next, by way of announcements, a couple that are not printed in your agenda. I'd like to point out that this is the season of the 2-year process in which political signs begin to appear on properties. We would ask as a council that you refrain, if you are not the property owner, from removing or placing signs on properties that belong to another. Show the respect that they are due for that. And if you find that signs are missing and on your property and you don't know how they were taken, we would ask that you inform the police of the loss, and we can proceed from there. The second item that I'd like to point out is also police related. If you have not been in the Commons in the last 24 or so hours, when you do visit it next, at the base of Pikes Peak, on the western end of Pikes Peak, there is now a stop sign at the driveway, across the street from the driveway to A1 Pizza. That stop sign now stops traffic that is westbound, which is the normal course of events anyway, but now that's there. As you are aware, if you've been listening to our meetings, that petition was made to the Highway Commission and they approved it, and the Department of Transportation has installed that sign. The police chief has issued instructions to his people as to how that's to be enforced. And I would invite any comment from you, Chief, if you'd like to do so regarding that stop sign.
Well, I'd like to thank I'm going to send a letter to the Traffic Commission thanking them for their assistance there. We haven't had a history of accidents at that intersection, but we certainly have had a lot of near misses. So adding that stop sign is just going to enhance the safety of the vehicular traffic and especially the pedestrian traffic with the school right there and A1 Pizza as well. So we're glad to see that, and hopefully we've posted the electronic signboard in the Common as well, letting people know that the stop sign is there, and we did also post to our social media accounts letting people know.
Thank you. The remaining announcements concern upcoming vacancies. These letters of interest for these vacancies are due by October 8th at 4 p.m. There's a continued need for an alternate member on the Board of Canvassers to represent the Democratic Party. There's a member of the Harbor Commission to represent recreational voters, a member of the Little Compton Free Public Library Board of Trustees, It's the unexpired term in which the current member is willing to remain until another is engaged in her place. And there is furthermore members of the same Board of Trustees whose terms expire 2 years later, and those terms, those vacancies are open now. So the clerk can correct me, but I believe there are 3 vacancies then on the board.
Yes.
So any questions on that or comments? on that?
I just had a question, Carol, with regard to the library trustee, which is described as current member willing to remain until another engaged in her place. Is the suggestion that that current member might not rather serve, or do we know that?
She
might not?
she would prefer to have her resignation as of September 30th. But she is willing to stay another week or 2 until we can get someone else to fill her seat.
So that is a vacancy. That will be a vacancy.
Yes, it will be.
Okay, thank you.
Finally, by way of announcement, a reminder of a free townwide flu clinic offered on October 6th, beginning at 4 p.m. at the school. Registration is required for that. The website is rather simple. It is schoolflu.com. You need to register in order to be able to get such a shot. Are there any other announcements that need to be made? All right, we'll move to old business. The first item of old business is we have received the final report on the Municipal Resiliency Program workshop that was held in August. And in conjunction with that, we have a request from the Beach Commission to discuss the Municipal Resiliency Program. Let me ask the team leader, Councilor Anderson, to summarize where we are with what we have in front of us now by way of the report.
Thank you. So as we reported at our last meeting, we had received a draft of the so-called summary of findings of the July 23rd workshop, in which about 25 or 30 residents and facilitators participated. Since then, Council President Mushin, Town Administrator Texera, and myself as a so-called core team had a chance to review that draft. We made revisions that really constituted only typographical questions, some geographic things that we needed to clear up. There was one question about a reference to taxation. So they quickly turned that around and sent us this week the final, what they described as the final draft. And so at this point, our thinking was, that is the 3 of us, was that we would distribute this, and I will do that. I have the list. We will distribute this to all the participants in the who took place in the workshop. It is currently available in the council's packet that's on the town website. And I was going to ask at this meeting, and perhaps Carol can suggest this, whether there might be a place in the town documents portion of the website, the town website, to post it separately so that it would be available to the public.
Yes,
Clearly.
I can do that.
Okay, and then the next step, having this document in hand, we had heard from Sean O'Rourke, who manages this program for the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank. And the next step is the process of applying for a so-called action grant. Based on an email from him, we have a tentative meeting the week of October, not next week, but the week afterwards, to hear from him and talk with him about the next steps in the action grant process. At that time, Bob, Tony and I discussed, we would have the opportunity to find out how that process will play out and what other kind of outreach we might take with the participants or the public about coming up with projects, potential projects, and proposing them. So that's where that part of it stands. And then as the Beach Commission issue comes up, I might have some more to add there, unless there are other questions.
We've received via the chat box a report from Don Maderas, who was to be the spokesman for the Beach Commission, that he will not be able to do that. And so he has said that he does not need to comment. I'm having technical difficulties. Just want to report the Beach Commission supports the Town Landing project, which is not specifically what we're talking about, and any necessary parking lot closure during construction. Thank you and good night. So I think we can save that for another try.
Okay.
We want to do that.
I've got a question. So are we expected, when we apply for the grant, are we going to be using the actions and goals table that is in this report to decide which, what we're going to try and tackle or what we're going to apply with?
Well, I'll speak to that. When I had an email exchange briefly with Sean a couple of weeks ago at the Infrastructure Bank, he told us that we would shortly be receiving the request, what do they call it? Request for responses for this year's round. That will come along shortly. As they told us before, and as it looks from last year's guidelines, this will happen pretty quickly. But we will receive shortly the request for responses, and I will just read quickly one section. It says, eligible projects are required to be identified through the CRB, Community Resilience, all these acronyms, Community Resilience Building process and improve climate resilience. So the theory is that this will arise from that projects will arise from the objectives or from specific things identified in the process of and in our findings. But frankly, you'll get this as I look at the product. Well, you've seen it, Andrew, but the product that came out of that July 23rd event in 2.5 hours is a combination of sort of general ideas and some specific ideas. So I think we have some more to learn from Sean about how this process will play out. How we've heard sort of anecdotally and from others that on the one hand, they're looking for ready to go shovel ready projects. And I think Tony, might have some things in mind that are from previous efforts, the hazard mitigation plan and the comp plan and other the capital plan, budget plan, and so forth. But I think in reviewing these criteria from last year, some of the evaluation ranking scoring is definitely makes reference to the process and the resilience standards. So we have some more to learn, Andrew. That's my question. But I would say that in general, yes, that there's intended to be a direct link between the work we did and this work product and the projects that we'll be proposing.
And when you get those guidelines from Sean, are you, Tony, and the council president going to be sitting down to go over this table to see what is the most, what the top priority is and what you think could get the grant money, or what would be the step after that?
What can I say? I think speaking for myself, I'm waiting to have this meeting with him for him to guide us.
Okay.
He's done this many times with many communities. I think he's going to tell us pretty explicitly how this will go, the optimal way for this to go for the community. And at that point, I think we will have more to report, and we will have to probably begin to act pretty quickly to narrow down, to identify projects, narrow them down, and get an application. And so at that, there's not much more that I feel comfortable about saying now based on what I know, but I think in a couple of weeks, we will know. We will know the answer to your
I
question.
think it behooves us all to review this and be ready to meet, in fact, if we needed to in some special session to meet a timetable, because I think council approval will be important. And so to your point, Andrew, we will be evaluating it as a council against a standard, but we just don't have those specifics yet.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item of old business is special directive number 5, for which I am seeking your endorsement of a revision 2, which would move one more month the town declaration of emergency. Once again, in keeping with our practice that we began with this first revision, the state of emergency would be extended through the 23rd of October, 2020. So I'd entertain a motion to approve Special Directive 5 Revision 2 as described in the package.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Golembeski, second by Moore to approve that Special Directive Revision 2. Is there further discussion?
Yeah, I had a question, Councilor Anderson. When we did this last time and the outcome was your Special Directive 5 Revision 1, I won't read the whole thing, but it says, makes reference to the governor's executive order back in March, our order of March 16th. It then says, whereas said emergency in the town has been subsequently extended through August 21st. I wondered whether it made sense to specifically cite the subsequent April 30th renewal and amendment, because we amended our March 16th one in modest but meaningful ways with regard to criteria for meeting and the council proceeding with business. So I just wondered whether this, for the sake of completeness in your what would be a revision 2, you might say something like in the third whereas. You referred to this March 16th one in the second whereas. You might say something whereas said state of emergency in the town has been subsequently amended on April 30, 2020 and extended through August 21, 20. I wonder if that would be worth adding. Reference to the amended renewal.
I understand. I certainly could accommodate it in either of those two places. And so the proposal is to amend this revision to incorporate the modification that was made in April. Is that right?
That's my suggestion, if that's acceptable, and it's not problematic. I think for the sake of completeness, it ties the sequence together.
Would you prefer to amend your motion, Councilor Golembeski, or would you like us?
Yes, not a problem. I'll amend my motion to include the change.
And thank you.
And Councilor Moore, do you so second that motion?
Yeah, second.
So the motion, the revised motion by Councilor Golembeski, seconded by Councilor Moore, is to approve a revision 2, which incorporates the extension that occurred of our own declaration that occurred in April in an appropriate fashion in it. That then is before us. Is there any further discussion? All right, let's roll call vote. Councilor Anderson.
Aye.
Councilor Golembeski.
Aye.
Councilor Mataronis.
Aye.
Councilor Moore.
Aye.
Motion aye. Thank you. The next item of business is to receive bids for the Town Landing parking lot restoration and landscaping project. In keeping with the process that we have undertaken in this virtual meeting format, the clerk and her staff have received as required the bids and have opened those bids after 4 p.m. today so as to present us with a summary of the bids themselves. And I'll ask the clerk to take that or to give us that information.
Thank you. There were 6 received. These are in order of how we opened them, so they're not alphabetical or by size. The first one was from Wilkie Excavating from Little Compton. The bid was $76,127.50. Second bid was from Yard Works Incorporated out of Warwick. Their bid was $95,650. Third bid was from Some Company out of Peabody, Massachusetts. Their lump sum bid was $155,440. Fourth bid was from Kavanaugh Marine Incorporated out of Tiverton. The lump sum bid was $122,000. Fifth bid was from JDQ Excavating LLC out of Tiverton. Their lump sum bid was $138,857. And then the sixth bid was from East Coast Construction out of Portsmouth, and their lump sum bid was $121,280.
That's quite a spread there, that is. Would it be appropriate to allow the Department of Public Works head and the town administrator to go over these three lowest bids? Or maybe they can look at all of them and come back with a recommendation, or, I mean, I don't know how soon we want to get this done before winter comes or in the spring, but
Can I interrupt you for a second, Gary?
you certainly may.
The RFP that was put out by the Town Landing Group with the administrator assistants designated that it would be awarded by September 30th. So you may need to assign someone and give them the authority to award maybe to the most responsive and responsible bidder.
Okay, that'll be my motion. Who's going to be doing that? Department of Public Works head and town administrator?
I'll second that.
Comment on that, Administrator? Does that sound right to you?
Yes, it does. Confirmed.
Then the motion that I would seek is to authorize the Administrator and Director of Public Works to confer and to award the bid that they deem most responsive and responsible by September 30th.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I'll second it.
Made by Councilor Mataronis, second by Councilor Moore. Is there further discussion? Roll call vote on that motion. Councilor Anderson,
I vote aye.
Councilor Golembeski,
Aye.
Councilor Mataronis,
Aye.
Councilor Moore.
Aye.
Motion aye. Thank you. Well, we have a invasion. All right, the next item of business is to authorize the town treasurer to establish a fund to accept donations for the continued ongoing future beautification and restoration of Town Landing.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Mataronis, second by Councilor Moore to approve the request to establish a fund. Further discussion. We'll call for a vote. Councilor Anderson.
Aye.
Councilor Golembeski.
Aye.
Councilor Mataronis.
Aye.
Councilor Moore.
Aye.
Motion aye. All right, thank you. The next item of new business is to consider the designation of Wednesday, the 7th of October.
Excuse me, I think you missed C.
You missed C, yeah, Bob. Missed one.
1C.
Thank you. Thank you both. As I was saying, the next item is a discussion and consideration of the status of Town Landing during construction phase. And the request has been that we consider closure during this period. That is, in fact, our public safety and town administrators' positions as well. And so I would like to entertain a motion by the council that the Town Landing will be closed during the construction phase.
I'll make that motion, but I'd like to have Chief Raines involved with that also, since he would be the enforcement official with that, the police department.
Yes,
I don't know. Does
Thank you.
someone second it? I didn't hear.
they have not. So would you be willing to second that motion?
I sure will.
That's,
Discussion
Motion made by
period, though. I do
Councilor
want to make a few.
Mataronis. Go ahead.
No, I'm just working like what Gary's saying with Chief Raines on some kind of signage, maybe at the top of the laneway to let people know it's closed before they drive all the way down there. It may be something that's already under consideration. I just want to make sure it doesn't get overlooked.
Very good. Let me say for the record, we have a motion on the table by Mataronis, second by Golembeski, and we are now discussing that motion. Is there further discussion, Chief or other participants?
So that would be the Director of Public Works, the town administrator, and the police chief would be overseeing this closure with signage at the top of the road to let people know that the beach is closed so they won't be going down and creating a traffic jam. That would be my motion.
We have a motion that we're approving
Right.
this closure. Okay. Yes, Councilor Anderson.
The only other question or concern I have that we may need to communicate to the public is, as I read the request for proposals, this is a sort of two-stage. This is a fall work and spring work. Is the likelihood is that it will be closed starting soon and all the way through the spring, or might there be some? That's a concern I have, that if it's going to be closed for quite a while, we may want to be somewhat proactive about letting the public know that.
Let me ask the administrator to comment on the intended closure period.
Yes, actually, it will be closed during the construction period, but thereafter it could be open again until the springtime. Springtime, there's some additional work, which will be the landscaping portion, but that's really outside of the parking construction. So there should not be an issue at all to open it up once the construction is completed for the fall, with the second phase into the spring.
Good.
Thank you.
I'd like to add to that, that I think the town administrator and the three people assigned to this should also look when the first phase of construction is done in order to see if it's going to be feasible for people going down there in the winter with the wet season. If the parking area is completed and it's hard packed, that's one thing, but if it hasn't been completed and they're going to create ruts or destruction to what's already been created before it's finished, I don't think that would be good. So I think those three people should oversee it and say whether it should be closed or not.
If I may, Mr. President, also Don Medeiros will be the engineer of or the clerk of the works, so he will be involved on this decision as well.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any further discussion? Are you ready to vote on this motion to close during construction, subject to the conditions that we've discussed, town landing for the duration or for the appropriate periods of the contract? Any further? Then Councilor Anderson, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Councilor Golembeski,
Aye.
Councilor Mataronis,
Aye.
Councilor Moore.
Aye.
Motion, aye. Thank you. And thanks for correcting my order. I think I'm now ready to designate or to consider designating Wednesday, the 7th of October as Zachary Russo Day in recognition of his achievement in attaining the rank of Eagle Scout. The night before is the ceremony. And so my thought was we would declare the next full day, since a person who's going to be honored needs a full day of
Motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the designation. Is there further discussion? Councilor Anderson, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Councilor Golembeski,
Aye.
Councilor Mataronis,
Aye.
Councilor Moore,
Aye.
motion aye. Thank you. The next, by way of communication, we made you aware of this at our last meeting. We propose to accept with regret a resignation received from Mary Rogers, stepping down from the Harbor Commission as a representative of recreational boaters. And as you're aware, we have advertised that position as being available.
Yeah, I'd just like to say a couple words about Mary. I was appointed to the Harbor Commission in 1991. I think Mary probably came aboard in 1993. I was a chairman till 1998 when I got elected to town council. And I believe at that time, she became the chairman. She was elected chairman by the Harbor Commission. So she's she's been there for 26, 27 years, so if possible, and Carol can probably help me out on this, if we could not only honor her with a recommendation from the whole council, but some kind of gift for, I don't know, 40 or 50 bucks, whatever. You know, Carol does this before, so if that would be appropriate, I would like to do that.
Okay,
Carol?
I leave it up to the council to direct me what to do.
Okay. Would
Is
that
a
be
motion?
appropriate? I'll make that in the form of a motion.
I'll second it.
to
Councilor
accept with resignation and to
Give us some
provide
kind
an
of,
appropriate gift.
right, an appropriate gift, up to maybe 50 bucks or something.
That is the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Counselor Anderson is seconded. Is there further discussion on that? Counselor Anderson, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Counselor Golembeski,
Aye.
Counselor Mataronis,
Aye.
Counselor Moore,
Aye.
Motion aye. Thank you. Good suggestion, and we'll make it happen.
Thank you very much, councilors.
Yeah. The second communication is a copy of resolutions adopted by the Charlestown Town Council and the Warren Town Council calling on the governor to execute a plan for distributing coronavirus relief funds to cities and towns. This basically takes up the call that the state has been given a share of those funds, and the cities and towns have not. I will say, by way of a relevant fact, the League of Cities and Towns, and specifically Brian Daniels, is spearheading an effort to make this a 39 city and town petition. I'm fine with whatever is your pleasure with respect to this. We are pursuing it as part of the league. If you feel a resolution on our behalf is equally important, I'm ready to hear that as well.
On the bottom of the Charleston resolution, it says, the council's urging the General Assembly to fully fund the state education funding formula at the 2021 projected levels. I think that's very important. So I think it would be good that we do make our own resolution. And if the council so sees fit, that we can put some of it towards the funding of education in town, because I think we got cut back, did we not?
Just to clarify, both of those resolutions are identical. If you look, there's a second page to the Warren version. And so what it is, there is an effort to ensure that we receive the coronavirus relief money because the school funding was used as offset. And to your point, yes, it is important that we receive our coronavirus, not our, I don't think it's been established, but an allocation from the coronavirus relief, and that it not be offset by a reduction in school. So that's why those two are married together. And I would agree with you that we want to say both of those things in our resolution.
Yes, so I'll make the motion that we send in a similar resolution as Warren and the other. Right.
Good.
So
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion is made and seconded to create a Little Compton resolution that mirrors these. Is there discussion? Counselor Anderson, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Counselor Golembeski,
Aye.
Counselor Mataronis,
aye.
Counselor Moore,
Aye.
motion aye. Thank you. The next item is the consent calendar.
Motion place.
Motion to place a consent calendar on file unless somebody wants to pull something from it.
He took that right out of my mouth there. I guess he didn't hear me speaking. So I'll second it.
Motion is made by Counselor Golembeski and seconded by Counselor Mataronis to place the consent calendar on file. Is there further discussion? Counselor Anderson, how do you?
I just had a question.
Counselor Moore.
Carol asked if do we need to adjust our expectations of what's on the consent calendar? Or like what is on the agenda regarding Carol's request? Because there are so many spam or like mass solicitations out there that come into the account. And Carol noted that not every single one needs to be on the agenda, and I tend to agree with her on that.
We don't have that matter on our agenda for consideration this evening. However, her, I'll call it straw poll, has indicated what you said. And so it will be her discretion. Obviously, we will receive them all. And if one of us says, well, we received something and I'd like to have it on the agenda, then I think that'll work. So to your point, Andrew, that is her intention based upon the polling that she did of our opinions with respect to that.
Okay, thank you.
I've lost my spot on where we,
Motion's on the table.
no, as to whether we got any votes yet. Counselor Anderson,
Aye.
Counselor Golembeski,
Aye.
Counselor Mataronis,
Aye.
Counselor Moore,
Aye.
motion aye. The payment of bills.
Motion to pay the bills.
I'm gonna have to have a chat with that Mr. Golembeski.
Counselor Anderson.
Counselor Anderson second, I think.
He did. The motion is made by Counselor Golembeski, seconded by Counselor Anderson, that we pay the bills. Is there further discussion? And I would like to offer the first opportunity for that discussion to Counselor Mataronis.
No discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Is there any other discussion? All in favor of the motion?
Oh, sorry.
Counselor Anderson,
Aye.
Golembeski,
Aye.
Mataronis,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
motion aye. There being no further business before the council, I declare the meeting adjourned.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Carol.
everyone.
Good night.
All right.
Good
Good night.